Hi Booktube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. Can you believe I have had a Booktube channel for 6 years? It is so crazy. I still remember sitting at the kitchen table upstairs, my very first video. I had my copy of Pride and Prejudice out and talked a little bit about that. And now here we are 6 years later. I don't even know how anyone found that first video, frankly. But I did do the Booktube doobie tag, I think was my second video. But I did a survey on my community page about how we should celebrate 6 years on Booktube. Number one choice was the 6 best books that I've read since joining Booktube. Now, I had to refine that down a little bit more. There's gonna be some books that I owned prior to starting, or that my husband and I owned before I started Booktube, but a lot of these are things that were recommended or I was inspired by or encouraged to read only from my experience on Booktube. So the first thing I want to show you, you'll be a little surprised at this, is American Primitive by Mary Oliver. This is a Pulitzer Prize collection of poetry, and I think from 1984. So it's not like a new book, and we did own this before I started my Booktube channel, because my husband has bought a lot of poetry over the years, and I just had never really peered into that part of our library, and that could be in part because the many years we've been together, you know, it's been in boxes, right? It hasn't been out. But also joining Booktube made me realize, like, I had access to all of these poetry books and I hadn't read any of them, or I'd read 1 or 2. And so pretty early on in my channel's history, I did a series with Brian from Bookish. It was called Poetry for Beginners, myself being the beginner, and I think we tried to do that once a month for a year. I'm not sure how long it was, but every year I say I want to read more poetry and I haven't done it. So I really do want to go back to that. But this is an absolutely beautiful collection of nature poetry, found moving and beautiful, and again, it just makes me hungry to like go to the poetry section and find more. I don't know that I ever would have turned to the poetry section of our library if it had not been for Booktube and watching other people talk about poetry. The next one is another book. I feel like maybe I had heard of James Baldwin prior to Booktube, but I certainly had never watched a video of anyone talking about how amazing he was. I was really torn between 2. I've read 3 James Baldwin books since I've been on Booktube, and I was torn between 2 of them. I struggled to decide whether it should be Go Tell It on the Mountain, but I finally decided it should be Giovanni's Room. And this is just such a tiny book. I read it during Pride Month a couple years ago, and I just loved it. It's such a beautiful, beautiful book. The writing is just incredible. Go Tell It on the Mountain I enjoyed for different reasons. The whole kind of like church experience, and there were things related to that I connected with, and of course there are a lot of things that were new ideas to me. But anyway, I really love James Baldwin. I want to read more. We could have grabbed a whole series. This is just meant to represent the first book of a 6-book series by Anthony Trollope. So this is The Warden, which is the first book in the Barsetshire Chronicles, and I finished this series this year, actually. I read the last 3 books in the series at the beginning of the year, so you've heard me talk about Trollope a lot. I did make a video about this whole series, and I will link to that down below if you want to check it out. But I cannot imagine how I would have discovered Anthony Trollope had it not been for Booktube. And people like my friend Joe Smith, people like Katie from Books and Things. I'm trying to think who else. Oh, Aaron from Aaron Read a Book. Before he even had a channel, he was telling me like, I want to see people's ancient Trollope books. Faith from Faith and Books did a video about Trollope finding her mother's collection of Anthony Trollope books. So Trollope wrote so many books. I always feel a little bit behind when it comes to Trollope, but I'm so glad I read this series, and it was such a wonderful reading experience for myself, and I can't wait to read more Trollope. But I honestly, like, the last time I was in our local independent bookstore, I don't think there was a single Trollope in there. So, and I don't think I've ever seen any Anthony Trollope at the used bookstore either. I haven't looked to see if our library even owns any Anthony Trollope. Yeah, it's sad. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I discovered Anthony Trollope. The next one, my wonderful viewers, you guys told me I should read this book. So in 2020, I did a year without buying any books. I bought one book in 2020, which ironically, actually, we had decided to do before the pandemic started. So we bought some books at the end of 2019, and then we bought one book during 2020. And then at the end of 2020, I asked all of you, what books should be the first books I buy in 2021? And I think I ended up buying maybe 6 books, 5 of them, your recommendations. And I'm so glad. They were wonderful. I mean, I could have picked a couple of the books that you guys recommended to me to read, but this one just holds such a special place in my heart. I absolutely love A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr. You guys have to read this book. If you haven't read it, it won't take you very long. I promise. It is just such a jewel. That's just the only way I can describe it. I did finally watch the film adaptation of it, starring an extremely young Colin Firth and Kenneth Branagh. And yeah, it was the film was good, but the book is just, and even Jason's like, so we own this book? And I was like, yes, it's downstairs in the library. And I really hope Jason will read this before too long. It is such a short thing, but it's just, you don't want to read it fast because it's so beautiful. It is about 2 World War I veterans, and they're doing archaeological, well, one of them's doing archaeology, and the main character is removing paint that's covering up a painting in an old church, and it's just like, as the book goes on, like, we're peeling, layers to see this painting that's been hidden for probably hundreds of years. And we're also like peeling the layers back on the characters as well. So, oh my gosh, so great. Thank you so much for recommending that. The next one has more to do with an event, a Booktube event. Picked one play, Hamlet, by the wonderful William Shakespeare. Honestly, guys, before I joined Booktube, I had read Romeo and Juliet and Julius Caesar. I read those in high school. It's the only Shakespeare plays I read in high school. And then my freshman year of college, I read The Tempest. and I did not read any Shakespeare until I heard about, it was called, I think it was initially called Shaketube, and now it's Shaketember. If you have not heard of this event, it will be happening this September, and I am one of the hosts of it. And we're gonna do some cool different things this year to try to make it more inviting for people to participate in, because I do know that Shakespeare can be, I mean, I definitely know Shakespeare can be intimidating, because I was very scared the first year I was on Booktube and I participated in this event. But everyone is so supportive and so just, you know, like, that's like, it's great. Like, if you read one play, if you read multiple plays, like whatever the case may be. And I have read Shakespeare since I joined Booktube. I've read Shakespeare at other times of the year, like not part of any event. I have read 21 plays since I joined Booktube, which is kind of mind-blowing to me. And I've read them I've read a Shakespeare play, some of them I've read multiple times. So 26 times. Yeah. So again, over 6 years, is that very many Shakespeare plays? No. Or is that very many times to read Shakespeare? No. But yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing to me that how much Shakespeare I have read, and I'm so excited about other, like, there's still so much I want to read, so much I want to return to. There's, you know, the sonnets and the long poems, and yeah, it's just, but Hamlet was the one that really, the first time I read it, I think it was my second year on Booktube, I just was sort of staggered by it. So anyway, I love Hamlet. Had to put, one of you wonderful people sent me this copy with Benedict on the cover. So I grabbed that one. But yeah, Hamlet, it's just such a special, it's so special. Number 6, I'm gonna have to switch, move the camera around a little bit. So just brace yourselves, okay? I'm gonna cheat a little bit, but I want to use this example to demonstrate the power of friendship on Booktube. I have, since, within the first 6 months of starting my channel, I have been doing buddy reads with Joe Smith. And I want to show you all the books. I think, Joe, tell me if I'm missing something. All the books that I have read with Joe since I started my channel. Now, there are a couple rereads in here. The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, but I hadn't read that since I was a senior in high school. And I also did a buddy read with Joe and Kelly Hunsaker, who's a bookstagrammer. We read Mrs. Dalloway, and then we read, which I had not read, by Virginia Woolf, and then we read The Hours by Michael Cunningham, which is inspired by Mrs. Dalloway, right after that. So I had read The Hours because it's a Pulitzer Prize winner, but I still wanted to show you, and I don't even know how I'm going to get it all in the camera at once, but here we go. So on the bottoms, East of Eden, there's an Elizabeth Gaskell biography, A Fine Balance by Rohit Mystery. You can see the Dickens books that we've read. A lot of the mammoths. We've read, the first Dickens we read was The Old Curiosity Shop, but we also read Our Mutual Friend, David Copperfield, Dombey and Son, which if I was really pressed to just pick one of these, I might pick Dombey and Son. Although, God, David Copperfield's so great as well. Anyway, so yeah, it's incredible to think that that I could have read those kind of books with one person in 6 years. And truthfully, both Joe and Kelly helped me get through Mrs. Dalloway. I'm not sure I would have made it without their help. But Joe and I, yeah, I mean, lots of times I'll post like, oh, this is what I'm planning on reading, or these are some ideas, you know, for the year ahead that I want to read, and she'll just send me a message and say, hey, do you want to read this together? Or I'm thinking of reading this. Like, do you want to read this? And yeah, so we have another buddy read planned for Victober this year. I know that's not like an individual book, but it does say, like I said, I think so much about the potential for friendships and the opportunity to read with other people and hear their thoughts about books. I think it just makes the whole Booktube experience so much richer. And yeah, and there's just kind of this sort of vocabulary between us of this whole history of books that we have read together. It took me a really long time to round all of these books up, but anyway. So that is number 6 on the list. So yeah, there's a little bit of my journey of 6 years on Booktube, the best books that I've read or the best reading experiences. I know I cheated a tiny bit. Hopefully you'll forgive me. Tell me what you think about these books. What are the best books that you've read since joining Booktube? What are some things that you would have never read or never discovered had it not been for Booktube? I would love to hear in the comment section down below. As always, if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, you can leave an emoji. Or you can give this video a thumbs up, which does help my channel. So thank you so much for that. Booktube, remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I'll be back soon with another video.